Hi everyone, this is Mike Fauché. The Acasis TBU405ProMax is the next generation of small portable USB 4 dual drive docking stations. It supports two NVMe drives, one USB 10 gig port, one USB 40 gig port Type-C, and an HDMI port capable of 4K 60. This small dock is able to deliver 100 watts of power delivery to your laptop and has a switchable active cooler, which is a really welcome change. To find out more and to see how this performs, stick around for the rest of this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this video useful, as it really does help support the channel. Full disclosure, before we go into the hardware, Acasis did reach out to me and send me the device for testing, but they haven't paid for or influenced this video in any way. The testing, opinions, and results are my own, and they haven't seen this video in advance. I did, however, want to thank the team at Acasis for providing me the hardware and making this review possible. Back in May of this year, I reviewed the TBU405 Plus docking station, and overall I really liked the device, except for the excessive noise of the active cooler. As the TBU405 ProMax also has active cooling, I was really worried that this would have the same issue. But as you'll see later in the video, fortunately this is not the case. As you can see looking at the comparison between the 405 Plus and the 405 ProMax, you can see that they're almost the same size, with the biggest difference is the 405 Plus has the active cooler on the bottom and the 405 ProMax has the active cooler on the top. We'll get into the details of the active cooling later in the video, but for now let's cover the specs and see what comes in the box. Inside you get two sets of thermal pads. You get two 0.5mm and two 1mm depending on the drive the type that you're using. You get a USB 4 host cable to attach to your computer, two SSD adapters for the shorter NVMe drives such as the 2230, 42, or 60s. You get the power cable that delivers power from the power supply to the device, the power brick, and of course the unit itself. The back of the unit is the power delivery port for input power from the power brick, and the toggle switch for the active cooling. More on this later in the video. In the front of the unit is a single 10 gigabit per second 3.2 USB-A port. On the right side are three indicator lights, a 40 gig per second port, and the 40 gig per second port with power delivery, which is the one that you'll use to attach to your laptop. On the other side is a single HDMI 4K 60 port that drives a single monitor. Looking at the inside of the device is where the two NVMe slots are located, which is where we're going to install our drives, and on the cover is where they've installed the active cooler. The design of the active cooler is very different on this device than the one that was on the TBU405 Plus that I reviewed before. I'm going to use two Samsung 980 Pros for this test. The installation is very easy, and all you have to do is push the rubber drive mount into this slot of the NVMe, slide the NVMe in place into the enclosure, and push the rubber mount down to lock it in place. Once you've inserted both drives, then you need to apply the proper thermal pad on the top of the drives and you're ready to pop the lid back on. Let's test some different configurations on both Windows and Mac systems. Looking at the first test, I compared the mirrored performance to a striped configuration using my Windows laptop. As you can see from the results below, the read performance is fairly close, but the write performance of the mirrored configuration is roughly half. This was expected, as a mirror configuration writes the same data to both drives simultaneously. However, in a striped configuration, different data is written to each drive simultaneously, effectively doubling the performance. One thing to keep in mind is that by default, write caching is disabled on external devices in Windows. So what you're seeing here is the performance of the controller itself. You'll get faster performance if you enable write caching in Windows. Next, let's review the performance using macOS. As macOS handles storage a bit differently, there's a slight difference in read performance as compared to Windows, but it's pretty significant when you're looking at the write performance. This is probably more in line as to what you would see if you enabled write caching in Windows. We see the same trend, however, between mirrored and striped performance, though the number is significantly higher due to the difference in hardware and the operating system. Lastly, just to rule out the overhead of the RAID controllers, I ran the device with a single drive using two different benchmarks. and as you can see, the performance normalizes with a single drive. The TBU405ProMax does have an active cooling. However, unlike the TBU405 Plus, the cooling can be toggled on and off depending on your needs, which is a really nice addition to the hardware. Also, with the fan turned on, the device is pretty quiet overall. As you can see from the temperature readings under load, the device drops from 104.7 degrees Fahrenheit or 40.4 degrees centigrade to around 100 degrees 0.47 or 38 degrees Celsius when I enable the fan. Overall, this is a really nice device for the price. Not only do you get dual drives, but you get the expandability of a mini docking station. The inclusion of a USB-A, C, and HDMI ports make this extremely flexible. The controller on this device does impact performance, and the TBU405 ProMax is not as fast as a standalone USB 4 Thunderbolt storage device. However, it more than makes up for it with flexibility. Having the capability to use two drives in roughly the same footprint as an external drive can provide you benefits such as having redundancy for critical applications, the ability to install two drives for a larger storage space, or the ability to use it as two independent drives so that you can upgrade as your needs grow. Anyway, that's about it for today's video, and remember to like and subscribe if you found this useful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.